News with Jess Lujan.
We're back with my in-studio guest, Senator Tom Abbott, 33rd Guam Legislature. And Senator, let me ask you this: in as your proposal, let me ask you, when you're looking at your proposal is to look at an investor. And of course, the way Gov Guam operates at this point, who in their right mind will really want to come invest hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars into buses, as we're talking about transportation, and maybe have it for a year contract, maybe even 5, to initially come out there. I know it's been done, and it has happened. People have taken gamble, companies have taken gamble, it has happened. But initially, I don't know if, and most especially in the state of Gov Guam's financial situation, whether or not people are going to be as they were before. That entrepreneurial, that let me take that gamble, I think is going to pay off, especially if they look at the numbers of the ridership. If I was an investor, I'm going to say, Senator or Gov Guam, help me put riders in this bus. How can we partner up in that?
And that's a very good point. And that particular point was actually looked at back in 2010 when the transit business plan was being done by Parsons Brinkerhoff. And they've determined that, first of all, because of the poor service, it lacks the frequency, the buses are so old, they're not, many times they're not reliable, that as a result of those things, the ridership right now is probably 1/4 of the potential. And so they've determined that, really, if we are to improve the quality, we could see the ridership quadruple. So that certainly would add a lot of revenues to the fare box. But then the fare box revenue alone is not going to be sufficient to compensate that investor for the investment that he has made. So we're going to need to take a look at basically sharing of revenues. For example, GRTA has the franchise by law to basically control all the public parking. So we can go down to Agana and set up parking meters. It can go, and if the government of Guam, for example, was to lease to them for $1 a year some public land to build a garage, the revenues from those facilities will help to
offset some of the costs
to pay that investor off. There's also, we've often used tax rebates and whatnot. So we've got to think about what are all the options that might make it really a viable investment for these.
No, absolutely, and I'm glad that is being looked at, because again, you can't, as you said, when an investor looks at just the ridership itself, who in the right mind is going to invest? And looking at the ridership, you will have this humongous bus, 3-4 people in there, and then of course the time and the routes you have to have good routes, reliable. They can't just knock off at 6 or 7 or 8. You have to be running 7 days a week, even in holidays, maybe even limited hours, but you're going to have to, because you're going to tell people, hey, you don't have to own a vehicle. We have public transportation that's reliable. You can get to work with public transportation. You can get to work by 8, by 9, and you can get home by 9 or 10 when you get off at 6 or 7. So those people need to have that. But you're right. It's not just the box, or the monthly passes that you buy that's going to pay it. You're going to have to look at other maybe infrastructure things that GRTA be able to subsidize that bus operations to do that.
And actually, like I said, the revenue from the fare box is not going to be sufficient to entice any investor. In fact, there's that the inverse correlation, in that you can only increase that fare so much before people will say, hey, this is getting too expensive. But nonetheless, I think a couple of points I want to emphasize. First of all is, we're not going to have to go out there and do another study and all that to where do we begin and all that stuff, because that was already done back in 2010. It was laid out. What is the immediate solution? When I say immediate solution, we know that if we were to to award a contract, a public-private partnership contract today, that the company that's awarded that's not going to be able to bring in new buses tomorrow.
Sure,
it's probably
sure.
going to take them at least a year. And so, you know, the immediate solutions then would be, let's take a look at what our immediate objectives are. What are the primary objectives?
Sure.
And I think the primary objectives would be, we want to get people to and from work
that's right.
every day and reliably. So now what we need to do is take a look at reallocating some of the
Sure.
assets, so that now instead of, you know, once every hour or once every 2 hours, we may basically have a transit bus running every 30 minutes. And then when the new buses come in, then we can start, you know, increasing the frequency in during other times during the day. And so the plan is already laid out.
Sure.
And we just probably need to update some of the data.
Yeah, and we have a system already as it is right now. I mean, you know, the tourist bus that run now to the different outlets, malls, and things like that. I mean, that system works, so it's almost a similar system that you have to do. I mean, people know that, hey, look, I'm going to wait here 5-10 minutes. It's going to come around, and there's probably more than one bus that's doing that. And they know the frequency is there. Switch a little bit. Veterans Hospital.
Yes.
It's been talked about. It's been debated. There's been back and forth in regards to the need. I know you as an individual. I mean, you're the numbers kind of guy. That's why you're an engineer. And so, are the numbers there for the need for a hospital, Senator?
Well, you know, that's really, I think, kind of debatable, because, you know, who you ask, the numbers depends on who you ask. You know, you go down to the Veterans Administration office and they'll tell you they've got on file 27,000 DD-214s. I went to Revenue and Tax to see how many veterans have taken advantage of the fee waivers based on their status as a veteran. They come out with a number of something like 1,300. I think VA out of Hawaii, the numbers that they come up with, wherever their source is from, something like 7,000. But regardless of the numbers, I mean, there may be the thinking that, you know, build it and they'll come. And that's fine. If there are those who want to go down that path, then, you know, I say more power to them, because if in the end it provides better services, takes better care of our veterans, then I'm all for that. I believe that right now, at least again in the more immediate future, we really need to take a look at the processes that we have in place. Take, for example, the Veterans Administration has this program. It's called the Choice Program, so that it's an option that's available where if the outpatient clinic is not able to give you an appointment, I think within 60 days, then you can go out and find a private provider to meet your medical needs. But the problem is you still have to go to Hawaii to get that approval, and that still takes time also. And so, you know, there's a process that it's a good program, but we got to fix the process, so that it's more responsive. I know a lot of people have talked about the CBOC, the community-based outpatient clinic, that it's too small. Well, we do know that, and Congresswoman Bordallo, in her State of the Congress address that she gave recently, said that in this coming year's budget, there's upwards, I believe, $5 million to expand the CBOC.
I got to go take a break. I don't think we're going to have